Hello everyone, my name is Kaitlyn and I'm from the Cape May County Library, and today I'm going to be showing you some basics of needle felting. I have not been doing this a long time myself, but I really enjoy it, and I think it's something that really anyone can pick up at any time. So first you're going to need a piece of foam. This is actually from a couch cushion. I don't recommend this because if you use it frequently, it's going to start to kind of come apart and the green foam pieces will end up in your project. So if you're going to use something like this, don't use it for too many projects at a time. I would say what I like to do is use one side for dark colors and one side for light colors. That way you kind of keep the little hairs, on their own sides. So after the foam, we're going to need some needles. It's needle felting, you kind of need some needles. I picked up this package from Michael's, and they have the fine needles and the coarse needles. I find the coarse needles easier to build your project, to make the base of it, and the fine to add the details. Then you're going to need some roving wool. I have both black and white, and roving wool is kind of thin, almost see-through, and it's easy to just kind of pull apart and use for your projects. After that, I have a bunch of colors, little tiny packages of colors. So you would use the roving wool for the base of it, that way you get most of the bulk done, and then you just add the colors on top, that way you're not wasting a lot of color. The colors tend to be a lot softer, a lot finer, so it will take more of this to use if you wanted to make the full body out of it. That's why I don't recommend that. Okay, so today we're going to start by making a ladybug. So for our ladybug, we're going to need a ball and an oval. We're only going to need two colors, which I'm going to use the black roving wool and then this red. And I think this is a really nice beginner project because making a ball is kind of one of the most basic shapes. But it can be tough to really master it because, nothing really in this world is perfectly round. So what I'm going to do is start by taking more than I think I need wool. You're always going to be punching it down, so it's always going to be smaller than you expect, which is good because you can always add to felting. You cannot take away. So to separate the felt, you just need to keep your hands a little bit further apart and just pull. If you keep your hands close together and pull, it's not going to do anything because the fibers are all connected. So we're going to start with this kind of smaller piece, and I'm going to make the head first, so it's going to be round. So to make a ball, you just kind of have to fold the wool in on itself, and that's kind of the aim for any needle felting, is to get the shape close before you even start. Save yourself a lot of time. So this is starting to get a little oblong. I'm gonna fold it over. And this can be tricky, but with practice you'll get it. So the little wispy endy bits you're just gonna fold in. So to start felting, I have my coarse needle here, and you're just gonna stab it over and over again. Watch your fingers, you will stab yourself and it will hurt. So I recommend, at least at first, moderating your speed. This is not about how fast you can go. It's the journey, not the destination, right? But I'm gonna keep turning it as I do. If you don't turn it, you'll end up with some lumpy spots, hard spots, soft spots. Doesn't really work out too well. So if you're looking around and you see that one spot is further out than you would like, you just go ahead and push that in. Of course, always be mindful of where your fingers are. And keep stopping and feeling it. If it feels squishy, it's not ready yet. You want it to be firm. The needles are very delicate, so don't try to bend them. Don't try to, push in and then turn. You just want to go in and out like a sewing machine. It's pretty relaxing to stab something 100 times. Definitely gets that negative energy out, doesn't it? They do make needle felting pens that have a bunch of needles in one. It's perfectly fine to use that. It speeds up the process. I just don't have one, and I don't think there's any problem using just a single needle. It just takes a little bit more time, that's all. If you are struggling with the shape, you can always treat it kind of like clay and just kind of roll it around through your hands a little bit. That kind of helps shape it in that way, and then you just go back to stabbing. You'll feel your needle kind of start to struggle going in eventually, and that's kind of what you're looking for. Almost more of a crunch. You do want to make sure that you're kind of varying your positions, because if you focus on only one spot at a time, you'll get flat sides. Getting there. I think that's about good. So we're just going to set this aside for later. And now we're going to work on the body. So instead of making a circle, I'm going to make more of an oval shape, more like a river rock. So let's start with this. I have a feeling that I'm going to need more, but we'll start small. So at first you're going to need to hold your project because they are loose fibers, but as you stab, you can start letting it go. Felting needles are different from, say, a sewing needle or a pin needle because, I'm not sure that my camera will pick it up, but you see how there's kind of little sharp barbs on there. They face downwards, so as you're pushing, they're grabbing the fibers and pushing it into the project. So this is going to be much like the ball, but we're kind of aiming for a flat side. bad for size. I'm probably going to still need to put a little bit more on though. So I think I'm going to want him a little more rounded, so I'm going to grab some more wool. Looking good. I'm gonna want to flatten out the stomach a little bit just so it sits flat. So I'm just gonna focus on stabbing this area right here for a little bit. There we go, that's better. Okay, so to attach them, you are pretty much going to do exactly what you probably already thought. You're just going to stab into it. So I'm going in at an angle. Do be careful not to bend your needle because it will break. And then go from the other side as well. Okay, so now that we have our body shape done, we're going to add our color. So I'm going to use this really vibrant red that I have here, and I'm going to use my colored black wool just because it's going to be a lot more friendly to the design. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull off a little bit here, and then I've noticed with this wool that it's a little bit harder to pull apart, so you may need to go a little bit further than you think. So what I like to do is kind of lay it over like a blanket and start stabbing with the coarse needle. What I'm doing with the coarse needle is kind of laying down the framework for it, and then once I have that, I'm going to move on to my fine needle. now I'm going to kind of even it out and then worry about the top. It's gonna look weird and wonky and messy, but we're gonna fix that. Okay, so now that we have that red down, I'm going to take my black don't need much of this because I'm just going to be doing the details. I'm just going to start by kind of twiddling this down, and this is going to be our separation of wings. What I like to do is kind of make one stripe down and then worry about the detail work. For detail, you may not want to go fast. I find the faster you go, the more sporadic it gets. And now that you've got that down, you can go a little bit faster. Alright, now she needs some spots. So I'm just going to take this and kind of moosh it up till it's roughly circle-ish. Just kind of push it until I get the size and shape that I want. And don't be afraid to take a minute and stop and take a look at what you've done already. Alright, so we're pretty much done, but I think I want to give it a couple of little eyes. So I'm gonna find my white. Pretty much do the same thing that I did with those dots. I feel like that's a lot. They're a little wonky. Alright. It's looking a little bit to the side, but that's okay. Can always be fixed. Alright, looks like he's done. Thanks for watching. If you want even more fantastic content, check out our Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at CMC Library.